as we go through this series, come and listen. This short series over the Beattitudes, these things found in Matthew chapter 5, they're so awesome. I love them because Jesus tells me something and then he says, hey, Ian, you got to do this. But if you do it, you're going to get something super cool on the other end of it. Hunger and thirst after righteousness because you will be filled. We talked about it last week. Those who are meek will inherit the kingdom of God. Remember, meekness is strength put into submission. To completely give yourselves over to the things of God and not only being self-absorbed with how great you are, how good looking you are, how perfect you are, but meekness comes when you say, God, I know you've blessed me, but I give all of my talents, all of my dreams, all of my everything to you. And this week we're going to talk about a few more things. I'm really excited about it because it kind of goes exactly what we talked about in worship, and it goes exactly to where I am in my life. And I would venture to say it's exactly what you are in your life. In Matthew chapter 5, verse 8, it says this. Verse 7 says this. Rewind that. It says, blessed are the merciful because they will be shown mercy. Now you and I see mercy and we're like, oh yeah, okay. Have you ever played that game, Mercy? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hate that game. Because my wife can always beat me. Yeah. Always. She has like these rubber joints and nothing hurts her. And even when we were in high school, I thought I was a real cool guy. I thought I was tough. And now I would play Mercy with her and she'd beat me. She's like 15 and I would cry and be in the quad and I'd be crying because she'd beat me. It's terrible. I hate it. I hate Mercy. I hate the game. I'll never play it again unless I lose. Because I hate losing, I'll never play it. But we think of Mercy like that in terms of like, oh, I submit. Right? Because why? Because that's what my wife is putting me into submission when she plays Mercy with me and I get down on my knees. I'm so sorry. That's mercy to us, but that's really not what the original context of mercy was. Really, original context of mercy was twofold in the Jewish community. And it was, the first and foremost is what you and I need to really work on, I know I do, is forgiveness. Being able to forgive is what Jesus is telling the people. He says, blessed are, or what? Congratulations to, not happy. Happy is a archaic, incomplete definition of the word that's right there, blessed. Remember we talked about that a few weeks ago? It doesn't make sense. Happy are those who are completely broken because they will be given joy. It doesn't make sense. But congratulations to is really what Jesus was saying. Saying, congratulations to those of you who show mercy because you will be shown mercy. What he's saying is twofold. He's saying, congratulations to those who knows how to forgive because you've already been forgiven. Does anybody know the Lord's Prayer? That's part of the Lord's Prayer when Jesus says, forgive us of our debts as what? As we have forgiven those who've trespassed against us, one version says, or because we've already forgiven those people who have harmed us. Forgiveness. But the second one is even more important. It's helping out those who are in desperate need of help. In James chapter 1, verse 27, James, the half-brother of Jesus, says something beautiful. He says, all of you people are so worried about religion. Be worried about religion, but let me tell you and define religion for you. Religion isn't rules and regulations. Religion isn't going to church. Religion isn't giving money. Religion isn't even giving your time. Religion, that God our Father, is what James says in the book of James, chapter 1, 27. He says, religion that God our Father finds as perfect is helping those in need and giving food to the poor and the widows. That's religion. A far definition to what we consider religion, right? Because this is kind of what I think about when I think of religion. I think of a couple hundred people, maybe more if you go to a bigger church, thousands of people. They go to a church on a Sunday or a Saturday, sometimes even a Friday night. They get together and they stare at a guy who's talking to them, much like I'm doing now. They listen to some people playing the guitar, much like we just did. And they all sing praises and how great Jesus is. And oh, God bless us and thank you for your grace. That's what we define as religion. What Jesus is saying in Matthew chapter 5, verse 7, he's saying, what I want you to know is how to really understand, to have a peace in your life, to be able to understand true mercy and grace and forgiveness and love is for you yourself to first pour out all of those things. To forgive when you shouldn't, according to the patterns of this world. To love when it just seems ridiculous. To give when no one else is. And to help those that no one else wants to. Because those who do that will be given the same in return. And over the Bible always says that the mercy in which God shows is infinitely greater than the mercy that you and I can show. So Jesus says, congratulations, blessed are, happy are those who are merciful. Happy are those who know how to forgive because they've already been forgiven much. Because you're not perfect either, right? Happy are those who use their excess to help those who are in poverty, whether that's spiritual poverty or physical poverty. Congratulations to those of you who show mercy, because you in return will be given the mercy of God. Matthew 5:8 this time. It says, blessed are those who are pure in heart, because they will see God. Now, obviously, this isn't talking about a perfection in which you and I are aiming towards. What this is talking about is a lifestyle in which you are seeking after the things of God. A wanting, a desiring for God, as opposed to a wanting and desiring for the things of this world. I have 3 little kids. And there's a purity about them that I wish I still had. Does anybody here babysit or have younger siblings? Isn't it awesome to, you see a child and they're so innocent. And they love in a certain way that you and I have forgotten how to love. Whenever me and my wife were gone this last week, we didn't have our kids with us. It was just the 2 of us. It was awesome. I love my kids, but it's nice to get away. And we happened to run into them while we were on our vacation, and my daughter was so excited to see my wife that she was crying. She was so happy, she nuzzled in my wife's shoulder and was crying, oh, Mommy, I love you. Because the innocence, the purity of her love, her pureness of heart, if you will, is overwhelmed by these emotions of innocence and love and just a desiring to want to be with. And what Jesus is saying, when you have that desire, not because you're perfect, not because you've obtained something that no one else can, but what he's saying almost bashing at the Sadducees and the Pharisees. These are religious elite. Because the religious elite back in those days believed that purity came from the outside. In fact, one of the Pharisees walked up to Jesus and said, hey, why are you not washing your hands as much as we do? Because don't you know that washing your hands makes you pure and allows you not to be defiled by the things of this world? And Jesus kind of looks at him and goes, what are you talking about? You think because my hands are dirty that I'm defiled by God? And remember, Jesus kind of looks at him and poses back the question saying, you may be pretty on the outside, but the inside you're disgusting rotten. And you have no idea the things of God. What Jesus is saying is he's saying, I don't care about your outward appearance. And I don't care how people judge you. And I don't care what people say about you. Jesus is saying, I care about your heart. In the book of 1 Samuel, when David is anointed king, everyone's kind of complaining because David's this little tiny, not so good looking guy. And God speaks through Samuel and says, man looks at the outward appearance, but I, God, look at the heart and the character of the man. And Jesus is reiterating that, and he's saying, blessed are you. Congratulations to those of you who are seeking in your heart after the things of God, despite what the world is lying to you about. Because it's finally then and only then that when you seek after God, you will actually see him. Because God refuses to be in places, and his nature is the antithesis or opposite of sin and darkness. Which is the whole reason why Jesus had to come to earth in the form of man. Because if God came in all of his glory, he wouldn't be able to hang out with us because we're gross. Because we sin. Because our lives, unfortunately, are defined by impurity. So Jesus comes and he looks at us and he says, all I want you to do is strive after purity in your heart. Strive after God. Love the things of the Father. Hate the things of this world. Despise sin. Because then and only then will you be able to see the true nature of God. Jesus is giving us a progression of life. Starting with our basic needs of realizing that we're broken. And next week we're going to finish off this idea of how to live ultimately here on earth. So Jesus is talking to us and the people, and he's saying, be pure of heart. It doesn't matter what you look like on the outside. Because God looks at your heart. But he's also talking to the religious, saying, your rules and regulations have only left you empty. And your judgmentalism will never bring you closer to God. Some of us here judge people based on how they look. Some of us judge people based on their status in life. Some of us judge people based on how popular or unpopular they are at school. And it's the same thing that the Pharisees were doing to these sinners. Jesus is calling us all to live a level of life, a lifestyle that's above sin. I'm not saying you can keep doing whatever you want. What I'm saying is your life isn't defined by doing those things. Your life is defined by the Christ living inside of you. And I know that I would love to see God while I'm here on earth. And Jesus is telling me how. How I get the opportunity to see the things that are divine, to see the things of heaven, while I'm stuck here on this planet. Last week I said it, and I'm going to say it again. This world is lying to you and telling you that you need it. But the truth is that this world is in desperate need of you. This world needs you to love them, to care for them, and to teach them that there's a God that loves them and cares for them. And God is calling you to do that, to go out into all the world, baptizing in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, making disciples of these people, teaching them the ways of the Lord. And how you do that is by loving God, showing mercy when the world tells you not to, and seeking after the things of God in your heart, desiring Him more than you desire the